According to many health organizations, consuming large amounts of processed foods, especially ultra-processed foods, is linked to a higher risk of serious health conditions like obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and cancer. And you know what? Even mental health issues and premature death. Now, my dear listener, are you eating to live? Are you eating to be alive tomorrow? Or you are eating to die? I welcome you to Diet Talk with Dietitian Michelle, your food expert. And as you already know, this is a diet program where we talk about food and how food affects our health. I am Michelle Umadi. You can also call me Dietitian Michelle. So today, on Diet Talk with Dietitian Michelle is the Good Food series. We're going to be talking about good food. And our topic for today's episode is Acha grains versus pasta. Spaghetti, macaroni, all these fall under the category. We call them pasta. So if we keep Acha grains and we keep pasta, which one do you think is more nutritious? Now, before I delve into the comparison, telling you the nutrients in Acha grains and the nutrients in pasta for us to pick and say the one that is more nutritious, I'd like to use one stone and kill many birds today. Okay, I need to explain clearly the differences between processed foods and unprocessed foods, because I realize that it's confusing to some people. They walk into the supermarket and they see foods packaged in packaged foods and they just conclude, oh, they are all processed foods. So long as it's inside packets, it's processed. So it gets confusing. Now, we don't know the ones that are healthy. We don't know the ones that are unhealthy. And I'm here to help you gain clarification. I'm here to help you understand the difference between foods that are processed and foods that are not processed. I hope you're happy about that. Before we now go back to talk about Acha grains and pasta. In fact, last week, I got a call from a potential client who wanted to deal directly with me. He wanted to pick a premium plan. So while explaining that premium package, I told him about the consultation part. Then there's going to be diet planning where we'll customize the diet based on his lifestyle to help him achieve his goal. 140 kg, he needs to lose weight. So, and then we are going to have the accountability part. So we're going to have him in a private group and be monitoring to see what he's eating, to check his activity level and to know the progress he's making. And that we would also send him what we call diet therapy pack that contains measuring cups to help him measure his foods, food scales, and some healthy food products. And he shouted, "Will that be processed foods? I mean, Dietitian Michelle, I'm already suffering because of processed foods. Are you sending me processed foods?" And then I laughed. I said, "No, not processed foods in the context you are thinking about. That is not what I am referring to. Healthy food products, I would explain when we begin." And for those who know Dietitian Michelle very well, you will know that Michelle and Acha are inseparable. So I'll help you understand the difference between processed foods and unprocessed foods so that when you see them, you will be able to make the right choice. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, that consuming large amounts of processed foods, especially ultra-processed foods, is one of the biggest problems we are facing. Okay, so there are three categories. We have the processed, we have the unprocessed, then we also have the ultra-processed foods. I will help you understand all of these. Acha grain versus pasta. Which one is more nutritious? Which one should we pick first if we are asked to choose? But before the comparison, let's look at these words first and their differences. We're talking about foods, the different categories of foods based on processing. Are you with me now? Number one is we have the unprocessed and minimally processed foods. They fall under the same category. So we have the unprocessed foods. We also call them minimally processed foods. That is category one. The second one is the one we call processed foods. Processed foods. Then we have the ultra processed foods. Did you get that? The unprocessed, which we also call minimally processed foods. Then we have the processed foods and the ultra processed foods. Take notes, you are about to learn something. Now, this episode might be one of your best episodes so far, so just pay attention. But for those of you who are students, if you're a student listening to me, you are maybe in School of Nutrition or Dietetics or Nursing or a doctor and you're listening to Michelle, please note that we have four. We have the category that is called processed ingredients, like the oil and salt we use to cook. But I'm here to help my listeners make wise food choices, not to pass exams. So if you are going to write exam, please don't use 3. Say there are 4 categories, include the processed ingredients. But if you're listening to me just to make wise food choices, just to know what to eat and what not to eat, then work with me. Use 3 categories: the unprocessed, the processed, and the ultra processed foods. Now the first category, which is the unprocessed or minimally processed foods. For example, when you have yam, okay, you just bought yam. That yam in that form, in that state, is what? Unprocessed. But are you going to eat the yam raw like that without peeling? No, definitely not. You're going to peel the yam. The moment you peel that yam, put it on fire to cook, then we will say you have minimally processed the yam. But does it still taste like yam? Yes. Does it still look like yam? Yes. So what have you done? You have just processed it a little bit. So I hope you're clear. Yam, before you peel, is what? Unprocessed. But after you have peeled the yam, it becomes what? Minimally processed. Now, that same yam, when you dry it and grind it, it is still what? Minimally processed. So it's still natural. It's still yam. Nothing added and nothing may have been lost. So it is still yam, just minimally processed. Now for acha. When you buy acha from the market, just as it is with all the sands and stones and dirt, it's what? Unprocessed. But when you wash that acha, what have you done? You have processed it. And so that is what we call minimally processed. And when you wash the acha and dry it, you have processed. When you wash the acha, dry and grind, what have you done? You have processed. But this kind of processing is what we call minimally processed. So it is good. They are healthy. They are classified as healthy foods, nutritious foods, natural foods. I hope you are clear and you understand what we call the unprocessed foods, the minimally processed. So when you see acha grain that is already washed and dried and stoned, packaged in a food product, where will you classify that? I'm sure you are getting it now. It falls under this category, unprocessed or minimally processed food, because the acha in the packet is still acha. So I hope you're very clear about this, especially for my clients who are worried that the acha they buy in packets are processed. No, it's just made cooking easier. It just made it more presentable for you to enjoy. Other foods we have in this category, we have our gari, it's cassava. And you know it's cassava. It smells like cassava, tastes like cassava. So it falls under the same category as unprocessed or minimally processed. Then we have our yam flour, like I already said. Then rice flour. All these fall under the same category, unprocessed or minimally processed foods. Then the second category is the processed foods. Foods under this category have undergone several stages of processing, and in the process, some nutrients are lost. So we classify them under this category, processed foods. Some examples of processed foods. This one I'm about to say is heavy for mouth too, but I will still say it. It's information I am passing across. Now, foods that fall under this category are ogi, akamu, pap, falls under this processed category. Now, when we say processed, it doesn't really matter if it's processed at home or processed in a factory. When you know the stages of processing, you will now be able to classify your foods to say that, oh, this food falls under the unprocessed or minimally processed, or it falls under the processed, or it falls under the ultra-processed food. So yes, we have made akamu at home, but why is it classified under the processed category? Because a lot of nutrients are lost in the process. You see that chaff that we throw away? That chaff contains the fiber that you need, contains the vitamins, the minerals, and even the protein that you need. You have thrown it away. You are now edified. In fact, I call it, you are now feeding the goat fat, and you are eating the one that does not have nutrients. Are you understanding? But at this point, I would like to say that I am not ruling out ogi or pap. For babies 6 months old, I don't expect you to give them gari I don't expect you to start giving them heavy foods, okay? So we have foods like ogi and pap for babies because they have very soft, tender digestive system. So the main nutrient for babies 6 months and above is still breast milk, then the infant milk. These foods like the ogi, just to give them a little energy, a little carbohydrate, that is not the main food. I hope you're getting it. Then people who are underweight that we want to take a lot of calories can also take this pap and ogi, and it's perfect. Now, remember that we are food experts. We know the foods to recommend for different conditions. So we are not ruling out ogi. We're not saying that, oh, it's bad for the health. No, there are circumstances that ogi is perfect for, and I have given you some instances for babies, for newborn babies, for young children, for underweight persons. This would fall. But if you're not a baby and you are not underweight, I don't know what you are doing with ogi and pap. I don't know what you're doing with smooth pap. You should be thinking about something like finger millet. Why? Because finger millet is also called tamba in Jos. I know people from Jos, we know what I'm talking about, but if you're not, just check finger millet on the internet. You might see what it looks like. It's also called tamba. In fact, Indians call it ragi. Yeah, that is what they call it. It's a very nutritious food. And this finger millet falls under the category of unprocessed or minimally processed because you just grind and then you make it as pap and it's set. Are you getting the difference now? There is no sieving out of any chaff, so your vitamins, your minerals, your fiber still intact. But once you have soaked, then you wet grind and you sieve and you lose a lot of chaff, you're losing nutrients. So you have processed and you are left with what? With little or no nutrients. That is processed food. Now, I'll give you other foods that fall under this category. Pasta. Yes, our spaghetti bolognese. Yeah, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but yes, it falls under these processed foods. We have our macaroni falls under these processed foods. And guess what? When you have orange juice, you want to feel like a healthy person, well, it's good, it's not bad. But when you extract the chaff or the fiber, the pulp from the orange, then you have what? Processed juice. When you take the orange whole, you are doing what? You're taking unprocessed or minimally processed orange. When you extract it as juice, then it falls under the category of processed food. Now, other things that fall under this category, even our breakfast series, the packaged breakfast series that we buy falls under this category. Most of them falls under the category of processed foods. Now let's talk about the main one, the obonge, that is the game changer, the food spoiler itself, the one that we should be very careful about. We should, in fact, you should learn to read food labels because of this category. It's called the ultra processed foods. Not only has it undergone a lot of processing stages, okay? We are not just talking about losing nutrients. You know, this processed food we're talking about, the problem is that you have lost nutrients. Are you getting me? You have lost nutrients. But when we talk about the ultra-processed foods, you have not just lost nutrients, but foods under this category now contain what we call additives. What are additives? The artificial colors, the artificial flavors, the preservatives, the sodium benzoate, the chemicals, the bobo, the everything that we put inside that one so that it looks good and smells good, and you understand, so that it appears good and you enjoy it and you be happy, you are chilling. That is the main problem. That ultra processed food is our biggest problem. You remember what health organization said, not Dietitian Michelle. Don't quote me so that tomorrow you will not say that Michelle said. I did not say. Health organization said that consuming processed foods, especially ultra processed foods, leads to what? Serious health conditions. So I am not the one saying, I'm just quoting them and sharing what I have discovered. So these ultra processed foods are the problem. The ones that have been processed and additives added to them, these are the ultra processed food. These are the ones that when you go to the supermarket, you will turn to the back, see the ingredients, read and see what has been added. Because by mere looking at it, you just say, oh, it's orange juice. I'm taking orange juice. Read behind. Look behind. That is when you will see what you are taking. That is where you will now see the chemicals that you are taking. And these are the ultra processed foods we should be careful about. Foods that fall under this category. Are you listening? We have our white bread. It contains what? The refined flour that we are talking about, refined flour from wheat, and then yes, the preservative used to preserve. So white bread falls under this category. Then we have our biscuits. We have biscuits. Most biscuits, in fact, not most biscuits, all biscuits fall under the category of ultra processed foods. Why? Because they are refined. Okay, refined, then they all contain artificial flavors, artificial colors, and then preservative. Biscuits fall under here. Then our cakes, then all those fizzy drinks, packaged juices that we buy here and there, then packaged meats, your hot dog and sausage. Where are the shawarma lovers? You fall under this category of ultra processed foods eaters. Then we have baked beans. These are all ultra processed. We have added something to eat. And you know what? Our noodles, hey, voila, noodles falls under this category. Why? Because it's refined from what? From wheat. If you keep the raw wheat and you keep noodles, you can bet that, oh, these are two different things. But yes, noodles are made from wheat. So it's so refined that you cannot even tell that they are from the same source. So noodles are refined, ultra processed foods. Why? Because they contain additives. And do you know another food that we classify under the ultra processed foods? Custard. Are you listening to me? Dear mommies who feed their babies with custard. Custard is not infant cereal. Hear me and hear me loud, please. Custard, don't classify it as baby food because it looks smooth does not mean it's easy on that child's digestive system. You should be the one taking the custard. Fall back to the natural ogi, the pap, the millet pap, the guinea corn pap. Fall back to those ones for your babies, please. Custard is for you, the father and the mother of the house, not for your baby. So I hope you are clear now, because it falls under where? The ultra processed food. It is refined to the highest level. It is maize refined to the highest level. Then it has artificial color to give it that color. It has artificial flavors, and that is what you are giving to your child. So ultra processed foods are the biggest problems that we have when it comes to food and processing. I hope you are clear. Now, before I go on a short break so that we can start the conversation, I talked about 3 different categories. We talked about the unprocessed, minimally processed, then the processed foods, and the ultra processed foods. Now, sometimes my kids come back from school and they tell me of how somebody comes to school with soft drinks every single day, with big biscuits and food and sweets and chocolate. And I'm here wondering, and I'm asking myself, why are the parents doing this? Is that a sign? Is that a way of showing love to their kids? Are they saying, oh, this is how I love you, by giving you things that would harm you? Is that a show of love, or could it just be a show of affluence to show that you have the money, you can afford it, that you are buying problem for your child? Or could it just be ignorance? Well, maybe they're just hearing me for the first time and they didn't even know what they have been giving to these children. Ultra processed foods, refined with additives. So could it be ignorance, or is it just reluctance to change? There are some who know that these things are not healthy, but there is just this reluctance to change. You buy one full packet of sweets and you give to your child. You give the child big bottles of soft drinks with big biscuits and its enjoyment. Now, I'm not saying that I don't do this. I do. I give them to my kids, but it's not every day, occasionally. So I will encourage you, stay more on the unprocessed foods. Yes, the unprocessed foods or minimally processed 80% of the time. Then sometimes you fall back on the processed foods. Then occasionally you go to where the ultra processed food. It shouldn't be the other way round. It shouldn't be ultra processed foods. There are people who take noodles, white bread, biscuits, soft drinks every single day. Now, I mean, why? You take white bread in the morning, in the afternoon, you take noodles. So you are living on ultra processed foods. You heard what health organizations said, right? It's big problem. I encourage you to make wise food changes. Today on Good Food series, we're talking about Acha grains versus pasta. So I have explained the concept of processed food. So where are you going to classify Acha grains? Where will you put that? Where will you put Acha grains? Under the unprocessed, minimally processed food Correct. Then the pasta, where are you going to classify that? Under the word processed foods that has lost some nutrients, some important relevant nutrients. So if I ask you, which one is now more nutritious? Is it Acha grain that falls under the minimally processed, or the pasta that falls under the word processed food? Which one will you say is more nutritious? Definitely the Acha grain. Why? Because it has more nutrients. It retained its nutrient despite the minimal processing. It retained its fiber, its vitamins, its minerals, its protein. But in the case of pasta, because of the processing, some vital nutrients have been lost. Some vitamins, some minerals, and yes, even the fiber and some protein lost in the process. So without having to say so much, you already know the one you should pick first if you're asked to choose. If you're asked to choose between Acha grains and pasta, you should go for Acha grains. I talked about 3 different categories when we're talking about food processing. The unprocessed, which we also call minimally processed. Then we have the processed foods, and we have the ultra processed foods. Now, when you walk into the supermarkets, you're going to see all these on the shelves. You're going to see processed foods, you're going to see minimally processed foods, you're going to see ultra processed foods. But I expect that by listening to Dietitian Michelle now, you can tell the difference. So when you see Acha grains in a packet, when you walk into the store and you see CIC Smart Food Acha grains or any other brand of Acha grains, you know that this falls under the word unprocessed or minimally processed, and it's healthy, it's good for you, even though it's in a package, but it's good for you. Then when you see the one that doesn't really look like the original product, when you see pasta, it's made from wheat, but it doesn't look like the real wheat, it doesn't smell like it, then you will know that this is what processed. Then when you see another packaged food that now contains additives, artificial flavors, artificial colors, preservatives, you know that this one falls under where? The ultra processed food. And that is the one that health organizations discourage us from eating in large amounts. So this is how we're going to have our conversation. When you call, you tell me if this makes sense. If you're clear about the different categories of food, then you can tell me 1 or 2 foods that you like to eat a lot, so that I will help you categorize. I'll tell you if it falls under the unprocessed or minimally processed, if it falls under the processed or ultra processed. If you feel like you're telling me something that is not common, you just need to tell me the method of processing, and I'll be able to categorize that. I'll be able to tell you which to still explain minimally processed foods and the processed foods and ultra processed foods. And I was able to establish that yes, custard falls under the ultra processed foods. And please, there's something you need to know about Dietitian Michelle. I don't rule out any food 100%. No, I don't do that. We have to strike a balance. We have taste buds. We need to treat our taste buds. We are humans, and this life, now once we go past them. Do you understand? So I want you to make what we call wise food choices. You can even apply the 80-20 paleo principle rule. That is what you can do. 80% of the time, try to eat these unprocessed, minimally processed foods. Give your body the nutrients that it needs to function very well. Sometimes you take the processed foods. There is nothing wrong. Then occasionally you treat yourself with the ultra processed foods. Now the problem is when you leave more on the ultra processed food, that is when it's causing problem. You heard what I said at the beginning, right? That eating too much of these processed foods, especially ultra processed foods, can lead to serious health conditions like obesity. You see this obesity problem we are having. Go to America, go to US and see them. You understand clearly what the problem is. A lot of burger, a lot of shawarma, pizza, foods on the go. What are those foods? They are ultra processed foods, and you can see where it's landing them. A lot of cancer, a lot of people coming down with obesity. We don't want to start that here in Nigeria. I see children and I am really bothered. You don't want to bring it up here. Now, I know that I'm not supposed to be talking about this, but let me just hint you a little bit. Every single nation, continent, all have diseases that they are prone to having. So for white men, theirs is actually cancer. But for us in Africa, it's diabetes. Yes, being black, you're already at risk of having diabetes. That is it. Being Africa, I knew that because I enrolled for a course, Nutrigenomics, and it explained clearly. Do you understand? So if we are already at risk of having diabetes, why are we now adding cancer to it? Why are we now adding ultra-processed foods, refined foods, and eating them like tomorrow no day. Let's go back to the original things that we are supposed to be eating. They say when you are in Rome, behave like the Romans. You are in Nigeria, eat the foods that your genes have been made to be able to eat. All those imported foreign foods is not a show of affluence. It's not a show that you have money. It's not a show that you can afford them. Eat your natural foods. Eat acha. Try finger millet. Eat your beans. Eat your sweet potatoes. Eat Irish potatoes. Eat yam. Eat unripe plantain. Eat more of these foods. Then from time to time, we will buy shawarma and eat. Sometimes we will eat meat pie. On our birthdays, we will eat cakes. I hope you're getting it clear. So eat more of the minimally processed foods. Then occasionally you cannot eat the processed and ultra processed foods. Even if you walk into the supermarket and you see Acha grain in a packet, it's still good for you. It's minimally processed. You can buy and you're still enjoying healthy foods. You are not eating processed foods when you eat Acha. Now, the ones we call processed food are those ones that have lost some nutrients in the process of processing, like the pasta made from wheat. It has been processed. A lot of nutrients have been lost, vitamins and minerals, and yes, even fiber. So that is now the processed foods that you should eat in moderation. Then the one that you shouldn't eat if you can, but even if you must, it should be occasionally, is the ultra processed foods. So those ones that have been processed and they now have additives like artificial colors and artificial flavors, preservatives to keep them safe. So for those of you who boast and say, oh, I am taking packaged orange juice, Dietitian Michelle, this orange juice is nutritious. I hope you now know that what you are taking is ultra processed. Buy your orange and even squeeze is better than buying the packaged orange juice that you think you are taking. So for those of you who are wondering where you can get a pack of Acha grains, we have it on our website, www.cncsmartfood.com. Even the recipe on how you can prepare many delicacies, because I see that the problem is not just eating healthy foods, but preparation is one big problem. So we have healthy foods that we are promoting. We also have recipes to help you enjoy these foods. So grab your healthy product from our website. Also get the recipe to help you cook and enjoy these foods. If you having any problem or difficulties accessing the website, you can also send a message to our official numbers 0708 987 3497 or 0904 675 8079. If you live in Jos, you can walk into these supermarkets and you will get CNC Smart Foods Acha and even finger millet and bean flour and plantain Acha flour. Now try walk into Onibwinde, then Shop City, Icom Store, Flourish Supermarket, Freedom Store, Exceptional, Rainbow Supermarket, and many other supermarkets in Jos. If you would like to join our WhatsApp community where you can get recent updates on food products and even price lists, text JOIN to this number 0708 987 3497 and you'll be added to the support group. Would you like to be a distributor? We are also ready to partner with you so that we can spread the good news on healthy foods. Simply send distributor to this number 0904 675 8079. Now, for consultation and diet plan, if you need help with your diet, please do not hesitate. Let's work together and help you achieve your weight loss goal. You heard Mommy Zainab. She's not underweight, possibly overweight. I don't know. She didn't specify, but she likes to fry her sweet potato, and that is how she enjoys it. So eating that way, you may have been adding a lot of calories, taking calories that you cannot burn, and that can result in problems. You are eating the minimally processed foods, yes, but your method of preparation is still wrong. So why don't you reach out to us so that we can work together, help you customize your diet, teach you what you need to know. If you want to work with me, Dietitian Michelle, personally, I'm always here for you. Just ask for Dietitian Michelle's plan and you will be told. If you live in Jos, our clinic is located at Crispan Hotel, opposite Air Force Base off Jonajang Expressway, Rayfield, Jos. If you are not in Jos, we also provide virtual consultation. We can work with you like the client I worked with yesterday. He called us from Uyo State, and after we talked, he was now saying, oh, Michelle, I now look forward to trying this Acha, because I said, let's go to the internet, type Fonio. Do you understand? And he's happy about his consultations. He's already convinced that he's going to lose weight because he's clear on what he should do and the results he's expecting, and he's waiting to receive his first batch of Acha grains. So you can schedule your consultation. Send a message to this number 0708 987 3497 or 0904 675 8079. We are waiting to see you and help you achieve your health goals using real food. Yes, real food. All right, so that will be all for today. Before I go, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I talked about the different categories of food based on processing, and I'm very sure you are clear now. Even when you walk into the supermarket, you know what to pick and you know the ones that you will not pick. I'd like you to connect with me on social media so that we can be friends. You'll find me on Facebook as Dietitian Michelle, on Instagram, Dietitian Michelle, on TikTok, Dietitian Michelle, Twitter, Dietitian Michi, and on LinkedIn, Michelle Omadi. Don't forget that our main page is even the YouTube Dietitian Michelle, where you're going to find a lot of interesting topics on nutrition. You're going to see topics about sugar. You're going to see things about basmati rice. And yes, I did mention and I asked you about non-stick pots, if we should cook with non-stick pots or not. Did you check out that content on my YouTube channel, Dietitian Michelle? If you did not, I would like you to go there so that you know whether to cook with non-stick pots or not. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dietitian Michelle. You can also drop your comments there and we'll have a discussion. See you again on the next episode of Diet Talk with Dietitian Michelle. I will share one of my favorite recipe on how to prepare Acha grains. Now, when I tell you one of my favorites, trust me, it is one of my favorite foods. And while we wait to meet again, ensure you make wise food choices. God bless you.